Hello guys, in this course I'm going to show you how to model this coffee capsule in Cinema 4D. But before doing that, we need to analyze our model to get a better idea of how we are going to do that. So here we have a circular hole around our shape, and to model this we need to use a half cylinder to get this shape, and after that we need to duplicate this hole to get all the hole we have here, and to get the circular shape we have here we need to use a deformer as a blend. And after that, to model this top shape we need to use a series of extrusion, and we are going to do the same thing here on the bottom. And to get this cut on our model we need to use a spline combined with some tools to get this shape. I will show you everything in the next lesson. In this video, I'm going to import our references image that we'll use to model our coffee capsule. So to do that, I'm going to come here in the front view, then go to the view menu, configure, and under the back tab, I'm going to click here and choose the front image. So I'm going to open it, and here I'm going to adjust the position. So I'm going to come here, and for the offset Y, I'm going to increase this value. So we are going to place the base of our capsule here on the origin of the Y axis. So I'm going to adjust this value a little bit, something like that. And now I'm going to come here on the top view, configure, and under back tab, I'm going to now select the top image and open it. Everything is okay. Now to verify if we get the same position, I'm going to add a cylinder. And here for my cylinder, I'm going to increase the radius to something like that, and adjust the rotation segment to get something very circular. So we are going to adjust the position here, and here we are going to verify if everything is correctly aligned. Okay, it's good. Now I can delete my cylinder, and now we get the top view and the front view. So in the next lesson, I'm going to begin the modeling of the capsule. So let's go to the next clip. Now that we have imported our references image, in this video, I'm going to begin the modeling of our capsule. So we are going to begin with this hole here. So to do that, I'm going to come here and add a cylinder. So for this cylinder, I'm going to move it here on the bottom, and I'm going to reduce this value, the radius a little bit, to get the same shape we have here. And I'm going to reduce first the number of segments on the head, and also the number of segments of rotation. So I'm going to add something like 8, so we get something like that. Okay, and here I'm going to adjust the position. So I'm going to bring this on the top here, zoom in and adjust the position. I'm going to place it here, and for the height I'm going to come here and reduce this value a little bit and adjust the position. So let's check on the top. Okay, I think everything is okay. Move it a little bit. Nice. And now I can come here and make it editable, or you can right click and do it here, or use the shortcut C. So I'm going to click. Now I can go to the point mode, and here I'm going to come here, select this point. I can use the move tool or any other tool here to select point. So I'm going to use the move tool and select this point and hit delete to delete this point. This will delete everything we have here as faces. So now I'm going to come and use my selection tool, my rectangle selection tool, and come here on this view and select everything we have here and delete it. So we get the half shape here. And now I'm going to come back on the front view, select this point and move it on the top, something like that. I'm going to select everything here and move it a little bit on the top to somewhere like that. And after that, I'm going to select these 2 points, shift to select everything and move it like that. So I'm going to get this shape. Let's check everything here. I'm going to come on this view and make sure we have a straight line here and also a straight line here on the top. So I'm going to move it a little bit. Okay, I think it's okay now. Let's check here and also here. Okay, nice. So we get this shape, and now what I'm going to do is to adjust the position of this point. So to do that, I'm going to select everything and use the scale tool. I'm going to scale it along the x-axis. So I'm going to do something like that. Let's check everything here, and now with my rectangle selection, I'm going to select everything and move it like that. Don't move this point because I need to get to maintain the straight line here. So I'm going to select this point and bring it here. Also move it a little bit, not too much. Okay, and let's check everything here. I think everything is okay. Now we have some triangle here. We don't need that, we need a quad. So to do that, I'm going to go to edge mode, select these 2 edges. So I'm going to use the move tool to do it, and I'm going to right click and use the dissolve. So you can use the shortcut Alt Delete to do that also. So now we get a quad, and now I'm going to go back to point mode, select this point. Let's go to this view maybe going to select these 2 points, come here with the move tool and move it a little bit up, and then select these 2 points and move it down, so something like that. I'm going to select also this point, shift it to do that, and move everything back a little bit. And now I'm going to select only this point and move it back like this, just like that. Maybe select these 2 points and bring it back a little bit, and select only this point and move it back like that, and do something like that. I think everything is okay. I can come and select everything and move it up a little bit. Okay, nice. And now I'm going to get this shape we have here on the reference image. We need to add some subdivision here on the top. So to do that, I'm going to use my loop cut and add something like that. Okay, and now I'm going to select everything, use my scale tool and come here and scale it on x-axis, something like that, to get this shape. And to make sure everything is correctly aligned here, I'm going to add a subdivision surface. So to do that, I'm going to come here, and before adding this one, I'm going to press my Alt key, so this will add it automatically. And I'm going to select my object, and you can come back here and adjust the position as you want. I think it's okay. I can come here on the button and use the scale tool also and adjust the position. I think everything is okay. You get this shape. Let's check it on this view. Everything is okay now. We are going to stop here, and in the next lesson I'm going to come and duplicate this shape to get this shape we have here. So let's do it in the next lesson. Now that we have this shape, in this video, I'm going to duplicate it to get all the shape we have here. So to do that, I'm going to disable my subdivision surface for now. So you can use the shortcut Q on this view to do that. So I'm going to hit Q to disable it and to enable it. So here on this view, I'm going to come and select my cylinder, and I'm going to press my control key and drag and drop like that to duplicate my object. So now we get 2 objects. I'm going to go to object mode, and with my move tool, I'm going to move it like that. So I'm going to zoom in and come and adjust the position, something like that. Okay. And now I'm going to combine these 2 objects to one object. And to do that, I'm going to select these 2 objects, right click, and I'm going to use my connect object and delete function. So now we get one object from the 2 objects, and I can come here and try to connect these 2 objects. So to do that, I'm going to go to edge mode, And here I'm going to use the bright tool. So I'm going to come here, click, and connect these two edges. I'm going to do that here also, here on the bottom, and here also. So I'm going to do something like that. So we create the connection. Now I'm going to add a subdivision here in the center, and to do that I'm going to use my rectangle selection and come here, select all the edges we have here in the center. I can do that because I need to turn on my tolerance selection here. So every time my selection hits the line will be selected automatically. So it's very nice. So now I can come right click and use the connect points and edges to add my subdivision here in the center. You can also use the loop cut to do that, just to show you that we can use this tool also. So now that we have something like that, we don't need this part or this part at the moment. So I'm going to come here, and in the point mode I'm going to select everything I have here and delete it. So to get something, to get more visibility, I'm going to press Shift V to get to the configure option, and I'm going to turn off my image, and now I can come here and delete this part also. And I think I'm going to use only this part, so I'm going to delete also this part, so we get something very simple to manipulate. So now what I'm going to do, let's turn on my subdivision surface, and you can see that this is too smooth. So to get something much more sharpened, we need to add some subdivisions here. So to do that, I'm going to add subdivisions here around these edges. So to do that, I'm going to extend this line, and so I'm going to come here, select this line, and I'm going to use the extrusion tool. But here I think I'm going to select my move tool, and here on the axis, orientation axis, I'm going to select normal. So this will align my y-axis with this line we have here. So everything is okay. I can press my control key and move it like this to extrude this line like that. And here I'm going to press Shift V, and here I'm going to turn on my reference image and move it here. So to do that, I'm going to come just here and move it and stop on this line. Okay, I think everything is okay. Maybe move it back a little bit. Nice. So we get something like that. Let's check if everything is correctly aligned. Okay, nice. So now can come back here, and what I'm going to do is to add some subdivision around this line. And to do that, let's use my loop cut and come add some subdivision here. I'm going to add two. So let's add another one, so we get 2. And to leave the tool, I'm going to press my space bar. Okay, nice. And before connecting everything here, I'm going to come to the point mode, and I'm going to move this point a little bit here. So to do that, I'm going to use my slide. Remember, the shortcut is MO, so I'm going to hit M and O. So select, click here and move along these edges, so we get something like that. Let's check if everything is okay here. No, so you can come here and move this point a little bit, yeah, to adjust it correctly. So you can do the same thing here, so we get something like that. Okay, and now I'm going to use my line cut and come here, but before doing that, I'm going to add some subdivision here in the middle. So I'm going to use my loop cut to do that. So to add my subdivision here in the middle, I'm going to press Shift, so I can come and add it like this. Press the space bar to leave the tool, and now I'm going to connect everything correctly to arrange all the edges we have here. So to do that, I'm going to use my line cut, and now I can come here, and do it like that. Nice. I can now clean everything we have here. So let's go back to edge mode. With my move tool, I'm going to come here, select all the edges we have here, also these edges, and dissolve everything. So now we get something much more clean. And now I'm going to, I don't want to have more than 4 subdivision here on this point, because I don't want to get some tension here on my, I need something very smooth around this line. So to do that, I need to dissolve this line first, and now I'm going to connect this line, this point with this point. So I'm going to use my line cut to do that. Click and spacebar, and now I can come and select this line and use my dissolve to dissolve it. So we get something like that. Nice. Now you can come in point mode, MO, and I can use my slide tool to bring this point like that. Nice. Let's check everything here. Okay, and now let's come down here and adjust everything. So I'm going to do the same thing, maybe come here and bring this point here. I think it's okay. And here also I'm going to, let's select, maybe come here, select this line and dissolve it. Yeah, and now I can select this line, and I'm going to come on this view and extrude it. So I'm going to press Ctrl and do it like that. don't forget, you need to maintain the straight line here to avoid some deformation on our shape. So we get something like that. I can come here and now adjust everything here, and to do that I'm going to use my line cut and maybe come here and add one subdivision here. Nice. And now I can select these two lines, press shift to do that, and right click, dissolve everything. So now I can come and use my slide in point mode. So I'm going to use my slide tool and maybe adjust the position, something like that. Okay, maybe one more, not too much. Yeah, I think everything is okay. So we get this shape here around this line, so I think it's okay. And now I'm going to avoid end gun here, so we get 1 2 3 4 5, more than 4. So I'm going to avoid that, I'm going to use my line cut once again. Click here, and now to get a straight line I'm going to press shift and click, shift, click. Let's check if everything is okay. No, I'm going to repeat it. So let's bring my line cut, click here, shift and click here. Okay, everything is okay, and I can come back here, select everything underneath and delete it. So now we get 1 2 3 4. It's okay, everything is okay. Nice. I can now come here and turn on my subdivision surface, and here is what we get. Nice. It's okay. Let's check everything here. Everything is okay. So now I'm going to get the symmetry of this one, to get the shape we had deleted. So to do that, I'm going to select my object and then go to here, and I'm going to use my symmetry, and to add it automatically I'm going to press Alt key, click, so we get the symmetry here. So now we get this shape. We are going to stop this video here, and in the next lesson we are going to come and add more elements to get the shape we have here on the top. So let's do that in the next lesson. So now that we get the base shape, in this video I'm going to duplicate this one to get all the shape we have here, and to do that I'm going to use a cloner. So to use the cloner, I'm going to select my symmetry object, then go to here, and before click on this cloner, I'm going to press my Alt key, so this will add it automatically as parent of my symmetry. And by default, we get the gray mode. So I'm going to come here and select linear, and here by default we get the movement on the y-axis. It's not what we want, so I'm going to come here, and if I increase or decrease this value, you can see that this happens on the y-axis. So I'm going to set this value to 0, and I'm going to move it on x-axis, so we get something like that. Here I'm going to enable my shading line, so the shortcut is N then B, so we get something like that. You can come here on display menu and use this command, so we get something like that. So now I can zoom in here and try to connect these two parts. Let's zoom in again, and to go slowly, I'm going to press my Alt key and click here, something like that. Zoom in a little bit, and maybe come here, maybe set something like 92.2. I'm going to say something like 0.5. 0.5 is 0.8. No, it's too high. 0.2 or 0.3. So you can try some values to get something like that. Okay, and now if I enable my subdivision surface, you can see that my clone is not connected correctly. So I can come here, select my clone, and to connect everything correctly, I'm going to come here and use my connect object. So I'm going to press Alt before doing that, and you can see that everything is now connected correctly, but we only have here 3 clones. So here I'm going to come here, and if you count, you can get 14 hole here. So I'm going to come here and set this value, so we get something like that. Nice. And now I can come here in Gumrow shading. As you can see, we get some breaking line here. This happened because if I go to my cylinder on this tag and adjust this value, the angle value, you can see that this fixes my problem. So you get something much more smooth. I need to increase this value a little bit again. Okay, now everything seems okay. Nice. Okay, I'm going to stop here, and in the next lesson I'm going to come and try to get this circular shape. So let's do it in the next lesson. In this video, I'm going to get the circular shape we have here. And to do that, I'm going to come and select my connect object. And here I'm going to use a deformer. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to use the bend deformer. So to add it, I'm going to press Shift and click. So we get it as child object of my connect object. So we get something like that. And by default, the alignment is set to Y plus. If I come here and increase the strength value, we get something like that. It's not what I want. So I'm going to change the alignment. I'm going to set something like X plus. And if I try to change this value, anything has changed. So I'm going to click here, fit to parent. Okay, and we get something much more interesting. So here, if I come adjust the angle to something like 90, we get something like that. And now I can come and increase this value to 360. So we get the shape we want. Nice. And if I come here, I want to keep length, so I'm going to turn on this value so we get something much more better. It's okay. Now you can see that my object is not connected correctly. So to avoid that, I'm going to select this last connect and I'm going to add another connect. So I'm going to press Alt click. Okay, so this fixes my problem. So we get something much more smooth, get something like that. Okay, so now I'm going to come here, select my connect object, and I'm going to create a current state to object. So this will create one object from all the deformer and object we have here. So we get one object from all this, and I'm going to hide this and drag and drop out. So we get only this object here. So now what I'm going to do is come here, select this line by double click on it. With any tool you can do this, and now I'm going to extrude it. So I'm going to press Ctrl and extrude it down like that and bring it here. So we get something like that. Let's come here, turn on my subdivision surface, go to object mode and check if everything is okay. Now that we have here, we have this, I'm going to try to add this shape we have here, this oblique line. So to do that, I'm going to use another deformer. So, but before doing that, I'm going to set correctly my axis. So I'm going to select my object, go to Tools, Axis, and I'm going to use Center Axis to just bring my axis to the center. So it's okay. Now I can come and use the taper deformer. So I'm going to press Shift to do that. Okay, and if I come here, I can try to change this value, and what I want is something like that. I don't need that, so I'm going to reduce this value to 0, so we get a straight line here, and I can come back and adjust this. So we get something like that. Okay, if you want, you can come here with the scale tool, and I'm going to scale it. So if I do it like that, it's not we want, because we get the scale on the y-axis too. So undo that, Control Z to do that. And now what I'm going to do is to place my cursor here on the y-axis, then press Shift. This will disable my y-axis and activate only x and z axis, and then I can try to adjust the radius, so we get something nice. Now I can come back to my taper and adjust this value to get something like that. Nice. So now what I'm going to do is adjust everything here on the top to match my reference image. So to do that, I'm going to select my object, turn off my subdivision surface, and I'm going to go to edge mode, double click here to select everything, the line we have here. So now I can use my scale tool. I'm going to turn on my subdivision surface so I can check everything correctly. So I'm going to place my cursor here, Shift, and I'm going to adjust everything here. So I'm going to get something like that. I think it's okay. Nice. For this one, it's not a problem. If you want, you can come maybe in point mode, and I'm going to select maybe all the points here. So I'm going to go to this view. I'm going to use my rectangle selection and select everything I have here. Turn on my subdivision surface, and maybe select also this point. So I'm going to use my selection, rectangle selection, and come here, select everything here. So we get something like that. With the scale, I'm going to adjust everything correctly, and now I can come back and select only this point and do the same. So I'm going to use the scale tool, press Shift, and bring it inside. Something like that. I think it's okay. Now I can come maybe here and check everything correctly. It's okay. Nice. Everything is smooth correctly. So now I'm going to stop the video here, and let's move to the next lesson, where I will come back and add the top here. In this video, I'm going to add this part on the top. So I'm going to come here, and before doing that, I'm going to apply my taper to my object. So I'm going to select the two objects, right click, and I'm going to use the command connect object and delete. So I get one object, and now I can turn off my subdivision surface, and I'm going to go to the edge mode, and with my move tool selected, I'm going to double click here to select the loop. And now what I'm going to do is to create an expression. So to do that, I'm going to use my move tool, press Ctrl and drag it to the top like that, and then I'm going to use my scale tool to scale it down to something like that. Let's check what we have here in this view, maybe a little bit. It's okay. Let's turn on my subdivision surface and check everything. I think everything is okay now. I'm going to add more subdivision, maybe scale it out a little bit to adjust it to this line. And now I'm going to use a new scale for the expression. So Control, here I'm going to turn off my subdivision surface to align it correctly to the image. So I'm going to do another one, expression, Control, drag, Control, yeah, and another one. So here what I'm going to do is to connect the point. So I'm going to right click, weld, and I'm going to click on the center. So everything is connect, okay. And now I'm going to go to face mode, and before going further, you can see that we get some blue faces, and if I do Control A, get everything is blue. That means the normals is oriented in the wrong direction. So to avoid that, I'm going to right click and use the command reverse normals, so we get everything aligned correctly in the right direction. So now I can come back and select the face here, and so I'm going to use the live selection to increase the radius. You can use the middle button. So I can come here and select everything here, and here what I'm going to do is to grow the selection. So I'm going to use the shortcut U and Y many times, and with the move tool I'm going to bring this down a little bit so we get something like that. I'm going to do the same thing here inside, so I'm going to shrink the selection. So shortcut UK, so we get something like that. UK again, so we have something like that, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit so we get something like that. And now what I'm going to do is to go to edge mode, and with my move tool again, I'm going to double click here to select the loop. Do the same here by pressing the shift key. Here also it's okay. Now I'm going to use the bevel tool to add a bevel here, something like that, not too much, yeah. And for here we get some triangle. To avoid that, I'm going to select, let's go to this view, and if I want, I can come here and turn off the grid. So I'm going to select the line like that, 2 by 2. To get something like that. But before doing that, I think I'm going to come here. All these faces is selected, and I'm going to use the insert to create something like that. So now I'm going to come back here and delete all the line I selected. So let's do it. Right click, dissolve. So we get something like that. Nice. Okay, let's go back here, and now I'm going to add more subdivisions here. So to do that, let's go back here, select this line, and I'm going to use the bevel to do that. So I'm going to get something like that. Yeah, it's okay. Maybe come back here. With this selection, I'm going to use my move tool and bring it up a little bit. So we get something like that. Now turn on my subdivision surface and we get something like that. Nice. Now I'm going to add some cut here. So to do that, let's go back to edge mode, and here I'm going to add my subdivision here. So to do that, let's bring my loop cut and add it somewhere like that. So we get these two line, and here I'm going to double click here to select the loop, do the same thing here, and I'm going to use the bevel again to get something like that. Okay, and now I'm going to come back here, and with my loop selection, I'm going to select this loop and this loop. And when it's done, I'm going to use the insert to create something like that, and then use the extrusion to bring it down, not to match, something like that. I get this, and now I can go back to object mode, press Q to activate the subsurface subdivision surface, and we get something like that. So I can come back here, deselect everything, and we get the shape. So we have this shape on the top. In the next video, we are going to add the shape here on the bottom. So let's do it in the next video. In this video, we are going to complete our model with this area at the bottom. So to do that, I'm going to come here, Q to deactivate or turn off the subdivision surface, and now I'm going to go to the edge mode, and with my move tool and my object selected, I'm going to double click here to select the loop here at the bottom. And now what I'm going to do is to create an extrusion. So to do that, I'm going to use my extrude tool, and I'm going to click and do something like that. So let's go to this view, and I'm going to adjust the position to something like that. And here you can see that we get some elevation here. What I don't want, what I'm going to do is just come here, activate the snap tool, and I'm going to bring this down to the same level so everything is okay. Now I'm going to add another expression. So to do that, I'm going to click and add it like that. So let's check everything correctly. Here I can come and bring this on the top. I'm going to turn off the snap tool and bring it down a little bit to the same level. I think it's okay. And now I'm going to add another expression. So I'm going to add something like that. Come here on this view, and I'm going to adjust this value to something like that. Don't forget, when we turn on my subdivision surface, we lose some volume, so you need to get out a little bit so we get something like that. And now I'm going to add another extrusion, something like that, and another one. Let's check the position, maybe come here and increase it a little bit to something like that so we get the shape. So now what I'm going to do is to add some subdivisions here. So to do that, I'm going to bring my loop cut and I'm going to add one subdivisions here. So I'm going to add it in the center, in the middle. I'm going to press shift so I can click. I'm going to do the same thing here, shift click. Same thing here, also shift click. So now I can press the space bar to leave the tool, and here I'm going to select this loop around, and I'm going to use my scale tool to bring it out a little bit to around this. So I'm going to activate this one, and you get something like that. Maybe bring it out a little bit again. So it's okay now. Now I'm going to bring back my loop cut, and here I'm going to go to this view, add one subdivisions here. Here also going to add another one here and another one here. So let's check what we have here. Maybe for this one, I'm going to use my slide tool to bring it not too much, something like that. And this one also, maybe like that. So now I'm going to go to face mode, and here with the loop selection, I'm going to select this and this, and after that I'm going to use the expression to bring everything up, and maybe in this view I'm going to move it at that position. I think it's okay. Now go to the edge mode, and with the move tool I'm going to double click here and maybe use the scale tool to scale it down a little bit. Do the same thing here, something like that. Here, nice. And okay, now let's bring our loop cut and add some subdivisions here, here, here in the middle, and here also somewhere like that, and it's okay. Now I can turn on my subdivision surface and we can check what we get here. So everything is okay, nice. And now what I'm going to do next is to come and add a cap here on the bottom, at the bottom. So to do that, I'm going to use this one. So first, let's go to face mode, Control A to select everything. So we get a blue one here. No problem. We'll duplicate this part. So let's select with the loop selection. I'm going to select here, here, shift to add more selection, here also, and here. So we get this, and I'm going to right click and use the split. So we get another one here on the bottom. So for this one, I'm going to right click and reverse normal. So you get something like that. But what I'm going to do, we get the two objects at the same position. So what I'm going to do here is to come, right click, and I'm going to use the normal move. So for the normal move, I'm going to scale it uniformly, so everything is okay, nice, nice. So now I can close the hole here at the bottom. So to do that, let's right click and use close polygon hole tool. I'm going to click here, so we get this, and now I can use I'm going to select first this face, and I'm going to use the insert to bring it inside like that, something like that. I think is okay. Another one, yeah, another one also, maybe here, another one to somewhere like that. Okay, and for this one, I'm going to come here, so here I'm going to turn off the visibility so we get something much more cleaner. So now I can use my line cut, and here what I'm going to do is you can come here on the point mode and connect. So here what I'm going to do is to activate this option. So single line, if I click on single line, this will break the connection, so I can come, click and click, and I'm free now to come and connect points. So let's zoom on this area and come and do it like this. I'm going to do the same thing on this direction. So let's connect point correctly. So I'm going to do the same thing here also, and here on the top. Just try to maintain the symmetry. So here what I'm going to do is to add another one, maybe here and here. Okay, so we get something like that. Now what I'm going to do is to come here and select, maybe I'm going to use the rectangle selection and select everything I have here. So we get something like that. Now I'm going to grow the selection, so I'm going to hit U, Y, and UY second time. So we get something like that. And now I'm going to right click and use the magnet tool. For this one, I'm going to set the mode to smooth, and I'm going to increase the radius. So you can come here and do it, or you can use the middle button of your mouse, so you can do something like that. You can increase the strength also, so you can do something like that, 200%. And now I can come and do it like that. So I forgot to select this point, so let's go back, and with my move tool I'm going to select by pressing shift key and select everything here. It's okay now, I think, and press space bar to go back to magnet and select it like that. And now smooth, and can come here and smooth this area to adjust point correctly. Everything is okay, I think, and let's bring this down a little bit and we get something like that. So now if I activate my subdivision surface, anything happen here. Why? Because when you have two objects under the subdivision surface, only the first one is affected by the subdivision surface. So if we want to it to affect the two objects or all objects, we need to come here and group anything we have under the subdivision surface. So I'm going to group them, Alt G to do that, and now it's applied to my object. So we get something like that. So now what I'm going to do before ending this video, I'm going to select my object here and go back to edge mode. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to select correctly the object, And here I'm going to go to point mode and select only this. Let's use my move tool to select only this point in the center. And now I'm going to enable the sub selection for the move tool. And here what I'm going to do is to increase this value to something like that. Here I'm going to increase the strength. And here also I'm going to change the fall off. I'm going to select the dome fall off, so you get something like that. And I don't want to affect this area, so I'm going to decrease this value a little bit to something like that. So now I can come here and bring this down a little bit. Not too much. I think it's okay. I can disable this option, go to this mode, and we get something like that. Maybe I can, if I enable this one, we get something like that. Maybe I can come back here, select here. I'm going to add one subdivision here, so press shift to add it to the middle. Okay, and now with the move tool, I'm going to select the loop and bring this up a little bit, something like that, just a little bit. So now you can see we get something like that. Nice. Now we are going to check everything, so Control A, and we get something like that. Everything is okay. Now see you in the next lesson. In this video, I'm going to add this cut on our model. So to do that, I'm going to add a spline. So I'm going to come and add a circle. So for my circle, I'm going to change the orientation. So I'm going to select XZ and bring it up a little bit. Here, I'm going to increase the radius a little bit to something like that. And now what I'm going to do is to adjust the shape to get something like that. So to do that, I'm going to convert this to editable object. So now I can go to point mode, and with my rectangle selection, I'm going to select all the points here and bring it down. Okay, and now I'm going to select also these 2 points and bring it up a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is to first come and select all the points here, and with my scale tool, I'm going to scale it down a little bit along the x-axis. So I'm going to do something like that. Press shift so I can stop here in 75%. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So let's do it. I'm going to select also these 2 points by pressing shift, and here I'm going to go to the right view and do the same thing here. So with my scale tool, I'm going to bring it down press the shift key and stop in 75%. So we get the same thing here. Nice. Now I'm going to use this spline to place subdivisions on my capsule. So to do that, I'm going to come here. I'm going to turn off my subdivision surface, and here what I'm going to do is to select, but before doing that, let's go back here, select these 2 points and bring it down a little bit to respect the shape. So now what I'm going to do is to select my object here, and I'm going to use the line cut. So let's bring my line cut here, and when I press Ctrl, you can see that you get some points around the spline. So I can click one, just one, and you can see that here we get some subdivision. So I'm going to do, it's not perfect, but I'm going to do the same thing here also. So we are in this view, in the front view. I'm going to go to the back view and do the same thing here. So I'm going to press Ctrl with the line cut selected, Ctrl and click once. So now we get something like that. Not perfect, but we get the direction. So now I can turn off my spline. Let's bring my line cut, and now I'm going to connect everything correctly. So I'm going to do something like that. You can deactivate this option. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, and I'm going to continue to do that. Okay, here also I'm going to do that like that. Nice. And I'm going to continue here. So click, and also on this side. So I'm going to click. Let's check if everything is connected correctly. I think so. So now what I'm going to do is to select the point we don't need here and delete it. So I'm going to select and delete points like that. So just do it like that. If you want, you can come, and with the move tool, I'm going to select it, press shift to come here and select what we don't need. So shift select everything here. Here also, I think it's okay, and press delete. So you get something like that. Now what I'm going to do is to come back here, and with my select tool, I'm going to select everything I have here and go back to this view, and you can see that we get 29 points selected. It's not perfect because we must have normally 28. So to avoid that, I'm going to right click and use the optimize tool. So optimize, and we get now the right value. It's because we get some 2 points at the same position. So now everything is okay. We can come here. Maybe what I'm going to do, Shift V and disable my image and come back here and adjust some points. So what I'm going to do is to use the in point mode the slide to bring this point a little bit down. I'm going to come to, we are in back view, so I'm going to come to the front view, and here I'm going to bring this to the top. So we get something like that. I think it's okay. Now what I'm going to do is we get the profile. So now what I'm going to do is to come here in edge mode, select everything we have here, and now I'm going to use in select menu, under select menu, I'm going to use fill selection. So this helped me select all the faces we have here under this line. So we get this selection, and now I'm going to use the split to split it. So I get another object here. So here what I'm going to do is to delete all the faces we have here. So now we get this part at the bottom and this part at the top. So now what I'm going to do is to isolate this one. I'm going to hide my grid, and now go to edge mode, and I'm going to select this line already selected, and I'm going to use an extrude to create an extrusion like that. Let's say something like -7. So we'll do the same at the bottom. So you get something like that. Let's double click, and here I'm going to use the bevel. So for my bevel, I'm going to add something like that. Here, what I'm going to do is to select the solid mode, so we get something like that. So get this value, can copy this value, so we'll use it at the bottom. So you can go here, select this one and isolate it. Here we have this selection, so I'm going to use the expression. So same value, -7. Okay, and now double click here and use the bevel tool, and here what I'm going to add is 1.05, okay, to get the same thing. Okay, so now if I activate my subdivision surface, we get something like that. Let's check if everything is okay. Nice. And now what I'm going to do is to select this here, and I'm going to add some subdivisions here. So I'm going to come here and use the loop cut. I'm going to click, add 2 subdivisions, and okay, I'm going to do the same thing maybe here. I'm going to add 1 subdivision. So I'm going to press shift to add it, so we get something like that. And now let's check our model. Nice, so we get something much more better. So the end of our course. So in this course we create this coffee capsule in Cinema 4D. The next step is to show you how to add some materials and how to add some lights to render this. So see you in the next course.